Right. Let's unpack this. We're diving into a case today that, well, it really reconstructs a crime, driven by maybe the deadliest mix, a tiny insult and just profound entitlement.
Hmm.
This is the story of the Ismailia Road arson, a case where a man was murdered, moved, and then incinerated.
Hmm.
And the reason, not money, not some big rivalry, but believe it or not, a seemingly trivial argument that everyone thought was already settled.
Yeah, it's quite something. It really starts with this scene of just complete devastation. You have
Well,
to picture it. This desolate, remote desert road heading towards Ismailia. It's the first day of Eid al-Adha back in 2019. Dawn.
right, so roads mostly empty, everyone's home celebrating.
Exactly. Then two drivers, they spot this microbus, pull off the highway, and it's still smoking heavily, like suspiciously smoking.
So they approach it, probably thinking, maybe a terrible accident, a mechanical failure, driver trapped inside.
That's the logical first thought. But as they get closer, the fire actually flares up again,
Yeah.
a sort of final hungry burst. Security forces get there pretty quickly, and what they find is this vehicle just totally charred, basically unrecognizable. It had clearly been burning intensely for hours.
And inside.
Inside was horrific, a body completely incinerated, what the forensic teams call jusa mutafahima, essentially,
Huh.
an unknown, totally burned corpse. And it was in the rear seats.
Rear seats. Okay, so the immediate thought, the sort of human instinct, is maybe a tragic accident. Fire starts in the engine, driver maybe tries to escape to the back, gets overcome.
That's the initial assumption. But this is precisely where the science, the investigation, instantly changes the entire direction of the case. The forensic team gets called in because, well, any scene like that has what's termed shubrajina.
Criminal suspicion, basically.
Exactly. Criminal suspicion surrounds that level of destruction. And they very quickly found the one physical detail that just completely shattered that accident theory.
Which was,
The binding. Despite the body being almost totally destroyed by the fire, the remains showed clear marks. The victim's hands and feet had been tied, bound tightly, with electrical wire.
wow. Okay.
So this wasn't someone frantically trying to escape a fire. This was a homicide victim whose body had been deliberately placed there after being bound.
That is a huge difference, changes everything. But, the investigation must have faced massive hurdles right from the start.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. You're on a remote desert highway. Jurisdiction gets messy, first off, and there's basically zero chance of any immediate witnesses out there.
Plus the timing.
Crucially, yeah, the first day of Eid al-Adha, a major religious holiday. That means police records are slow to access, transport hubs like the bus terminals are quiet, maybe running skeletal services. Anyone who might have seen something or known the victim is likely off celebrating with family. The crime scene itself is isolated, difficult to secure and process properly.
Yeah, it makes sense. Still, the scene did give up some more secrets, didn't it? Beyond just the binding.
It did. The analysis confirmed the fire was definitely arson. Intentional. It didn't start up front in the engine bay, which might point back to an accident. No, this fire was started deliberately on the rear seats, and it was clear it had been drenched in a flammable liquid. Gasoline.
And they found evidence of that.
They did. And this wasn't like a clumsy attempt. The investigators actually found the gasoline, can they call it a jerkin, locally tossed just a short distance away in the sand.
And they got prints.
They were meticulous, managed to lift fingerprints from it. Even more impressive, the forensic experts somehow managed to retrieve the vehicle's chassis number from the wreckage, which is, pretty phenomenal work given the state of the bus.
Incredible. And that led them where?
That traced the microbus back to its owner, a man named Mustafa.
Okay, so they find Mustafa. But plot twist. He's at home, celebrating Eid, completely unaware.
Right. He owned a whole fleet of these microbuses running out of the big Salam terminal. But he explained he was disconnected from the day-to-day, didn't know the driver's rotating schedules, who was assigned which bus on any given night.
So the victim wasn't the owner. The body in the bus wasn't Mustafa, which means the investigation has to swing back to the Salong terminal trying to figure out who was driving that specific bus. How do you even start tackling that on a major holiday?
Well, before they could even zero in on the driver's identity, they needed the absolute facts about the death itself. And this is where the medical examiner's report just completely reframes the entire narrative. It shifts it from a potential quick tragedy to something far more calculated, a planned execution.
What did the ME find?
The report confirmed the victim was already dead before the fire was set.
That's crucial. So the killer, or killers, went through the significant risk of moving a dead body, moving the vehicle, setting the fire somewhere else, rather than just doing it all at that remote spot.
Exactly. And that tells you a lot about the sequence. and maybe the killer's mindset. It suggests maybe a split, an act of immediate furious violence followed by cold, methodical planning.
What was the actual cause of death then?
Multiple stab wounds, specifically to the heart and the sides. The medical analysis estimated the time of the stabbing to be somewhere between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. that morning.
And the burning happened later.
Yes, significantly later, more than an hour after the estimated time of death. So the homicide itself happened somewhere else entirely, maybe a place where the killers were known or could have been seen. Then the body was transported out to that desolate desert road specifically to be destroyed by fire.
So it wasn't just about killing him, it was about obliterating the body, and maybe even more importantly, obliterating the evidence of where he was actually killed. This wasn't covering up an accident, it was trying to erase a murder that happened earlier, somewhere else.
Precisely. The report also confirmed the victim was male, probably in his 30s, and confirmed the binding with electrical wire. So now the investigation had a laser focus. Find a missing male driver from the Salam terminal, likely in his 30s, whose life ended violently between 2 and 3 a.m.
But the holiday kept getting in the way, right? Drivers were off, terminals quiet, nobody reporting anyone missing yet.
Yeah, it was slow going. But then, about 8 hours after the body was initially found, so around 8 p.m. that same evening, they got the breakthrough they needed. A woman came forward. She filed a report saying her husband, a microbus driver named Mohammed, hadn't come home. He'd been missing since the previous day.
Okay, finally a lead. What was her story?
Well, when the investigators talked to Mohammed's wife, her account initially sounded, well, a little suspicious just on the surface. She said the last time she saw him was around 11 p.m. the night before, down at the terminal.
Okay.
He apparently told her his phone battery was dead. He gave her the phone, asked her to take it home and charge it for him, said he was going to meet up with some friends and would be late.
Giving her the phone just before he disappeared.
Exactly. He raised flags. She said she went home, fell asleep, and then woke up around noon the next day to find he still wasn't back. That phone handover, just a few hours before his suspected time of death between 2 and 3 a.m., was definitely unusual.
So naturally, the police have to consider her potential involvement, right? Did they test her?
They did. Standard procedure in a way. They gave her a cover story first, told her Mohammed had been in some kind of accident, was injured, maybe in a coma. They watched her reaction very closely. Her reaction was pure, uncontrolled grief, utterly genuine. They concluded pretty quickly she was just distraught, totally innocent, had no involvement. So then they had the awful task of breaking the real news to her that he was dead.
That's tough.
But crucially, before they delivered the final news, she gave them a photograph of Mohammed. And here was the final definitive link. He had a very distinctive mark on his face. And incredibly, despite the severe burning, that same mark was still discernible on the corpse.
Wow. So identity confirmed it was Mohammed.
Identity confirmed. Mohammed.
Okay, so now it all shifts to motive. Who would want Mohammed dead? You said he was popular, hardworking, family man.
By all accounts, yes. No major deaths known, no obvious big enemies. But he was murdered with such extreme violence.
Yeah.
And the effort involved, the stabbing, the binding, moving the body, the careful transport, the really thorough incineration, it just screamed intense personal revenge. Especially since nothing was stolen. No cash, no valuables taken from him or the bus.
So revenge for what? Where do investigators even start looking for a motive that intense?
They had to peel back the timeline, look closely at Mohammed's last day, maybe even the day before, searching for any conflict, any spark that could possibly ignite that level of fury. And they found something. It happened the day before the murder. Around 3 p.m., Mohammed's wife and his mother-in-law had come down to the terminal to visit him.
Okay.
While they were there, they were apparently harassed by two guys. Amir, who is the terminal's sort of traffic organizer, described by people as a bit of a bully, and Amir's brother, Ali.
And Mohammed stepped in.
Immediately. He confronted them right there. It turned into a serious fight, right in the middle of the busy terminal. People saw it.
Messy. Did it end there?
Well, other drivers jumped in, broke it up eventually. But here's the key part. Later on, Amra, Ali, and even their father came and publicly apologized to Mohammed and his family. Right there at the terminal, in front of everyone.
A public apology. So, to everyone watching, it seemed like the argument was over, resolved, air cleared.
That's exactly how it looked. Which makes what happened next even more chilling. Why apologize publicly if you're already planning murder? Was it just part of the setup, or maybe a brief moment where things could have gone differently before something else took over?
That's a fascinating question. What did the police find out about Amr and Ali?
Well, that's where the why starts to make a horrific kind of sense. The Salam terminal, you have to understand, it's like its own little world, its own ecosystem. Honor, reputation, hierarchy. These things matter immensely there. For most people, maybe the fight was just a fight and the apology ended it.
But not for Amr and Ali.
Not at all. Police looked into them, and it changed the whole picture.
Hmm.
These guys were heavy, daily drug users. They were addicted to pills and something called Strox, which is a really potent, dangerous synthetic cannabinoid. Plus, they both had extensive criminal records.
Ah, so viewed through that lens, addiction, criminal background, maybe entitlement, the public confrontation takes on a totally different meaning for them.
Exactly. Being yelled at, challenged publicly, in front of all their peers at the terminal. For someone like Emir, the bully, the organizer, maybe fueled by drugs and a sense of status, it wasn't just an argument. It was a massive public humiliation. A loss of face that, in their warped, drug-addled perspective, demanded the ultimate payback. The apology was just smoke and mirrors, a performance to cover the murderous rage that was already boiling.
So the apology was just a lie, a
Yeah.
cover.
Precisely. Amr, even while playing the role of the guy who made amends, had already decided Muhammad had to pay the price. And get this, the next morning, after the murder and the fire, Amr was actually seen at the terminal, pretending to help Muhammad's distraught wife search for him, playing the concerned friend.
That's ice cold, knowing full well Muhammad was a charred body out on that desert road.
Chillingly calculated. He'd already set the trap the night before. After Muhammad finished his shift, Amr approached him, invited him for a late-night get-together, said it was to, really smooth things over, make proper amends.
And Muhammad accepted, believing it was genuine.
It seems so. He likely thought the public apology meant the issue was truly resolved. And remember, he'd just sent his wife home with his dead phone, so he was available, isolated. Walked right into it.
What happened when he arrived?
When Muhammad got there, Amr and Ali were ready. They had everything prepared. The knife, a large sack, presumably to transport the body later, and the gasoline. As soon as Muhammad walked in, Amr attacked, stabbed him in the side immediately.
He fought back.
He tried. Muhammad apparently tried to fight back, even after being stabbed. That's when Amr delivered the final fatal blow, a stab directly to the heart.
And then, the shift you mentioned earlier, from that explosion of violence to cold calculation.
Exactly. It's almost unbelievable. They left Muhammad's body there. Reportedly, they continued taking drugs for a while. Then they carried out the disposal plan they'd obviously thought through. They bound the body with the electrical wire, put it in the sack.
Moved it into Muhammad's own microbus.
Yes. Drove Muhammad's microbus out to that pre-selected spot on the remote desert road.
Right.
Pulled the body out, placed it on the back seats, doused the interior thoroughly with gasoline, set it ablaze.
And just walked away.
Walked away, tossed the jerkin in the sand nearby. Then calmly took public transportation back home. Went home and slept as if nothing had happened.
The lack of remorse.
Stark. When they were eventually apprehended and confessed, they showed absolutely zero regret. Their justification was simple. Muhammad had insulted them, disrespected them publicly, and therefore he deserved to die. They genuinely seemed to feel their actions were warranted. Their eventual sentences, execution, reflected that horrifying gap between how trivial the initial insult was and the sheer brutality of their response.
Looking back at it all, the evidence, the sequence, the most disturbing thing is realizing that this man, Muhammad, was stabbed, bound, moved across distances, and then incinerated. This whole complex, multi-stage crime was all triggered by an argument that, to the outside world, looked like it was already finished, already resolved.
Yeah.
The real fuse wasn't the argument itself. It was how that simple slight got twisted and amplified through this destructive filter of severe drug addiction, specifically the pills and the Strox, combined with this really intense sense of entitlement and wounded pride.
And the ability of these two individuals to compartmentalize, to perform that public apology, then wait, plan meticulously, execute the murder, dispose of the body with such care, and then act like concerned friends the next day. It points to a profound breakdown, a complete collapse of impulse control, moral reasoning, likely fueled heavily by those substances they were abusing daily.
Absolutely. Muhammad, just a hard-working guy, well-liked, trying to provide for his family, loses his life. And for what? Because two men couldn't handle a momentary challenge to their sort of fabricated street cred? Both sides, victim and perpetrators, futures destroyed over absolutely nothing of value.
A total senseless tragedy.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? It raises this bigger question that goes way beyond just this one case, this one desert road. How do these environments where severe addiction runs rampant, where criminal entitlement festers, where basic social norms seem to just crumble, how do they allow the most trivial insult, the smallest slight, to become an excuse for an irrevocable act of destruction? It forces you to consider that fragile balance in some communities where public perception and wounded pride, especially when amplified by drugs, literally become matters of life and death.